So when you hear Penelope, what do you think of?
You're going to say this is some girl you dated in college?
I ask you a question. You can't.
I never dated a
return
Penelope.
that with a question. I just said, what do you think of it?
I'm deflecting.
Obviously.
I never had a good Penelope story. That's why.
I mean, I don't either. I was just going to say Penelope Cruz and Vanilla Sky. Like, that scarred me pretty good.
Why?
Man, when Cameron Diaz kills that dude, after that, I would never break up with a girl if I was in her car. No way, no how.
All I know is that Vanilla Sky sounds like a sexual thing.
It was a movie.
I know, but it also sounds like something you'd see on like Urban Dictionary.
Did you ever watch it?
Yeah, Tom Cruise was in that.
I think it made it hard to break up with crazy girls.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards, and with me is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us part of your day. Hello, Dr. Zeke Baker.
Hello, John boy.
I like to remind people that you are a doctor.
I don't.
I thought I was giving you some, like, prestige and deference, and I thought I was being respectful.
Just Zeke.
Zeke just spilled his drink. That's it.
That was a water for a rinse.
You just lost your doctorate off that alone.
Water for a rinse doesn't count.
Well, we have some amazing people in the studio tonight. Before we get to them, I want to mention that we are sponsored by CaskCartel.com, changing the industry standard in how you get your drinks. So get the world's greatest spirits delivered directly to your door by using CaskCartel.com. Whether or not you want tequila, vodka, gin, whiskey, bourbon, whatever it is, they will send it to you. Could be a late night trip. You're sitting on the couch. You look in the cabinet. You realize nothing's there. Go to CaskCartel.com. They will send it to you. It will come right to you. Want to also let you know they are doing a big Pappy sample giveaway on Instagram right now. Follow CaskCartel.com. You might get a sample of Pappy, and stay tuned because we might have a way to get you some. So there are some old rips. I know they are not Pappies, but we are going to have a couple samples of old rip 10 years old that we will help give away with CaskCartel.com. They are changing the industry standard. Check them out. But announcements are over. We have two amazing people in the studio. We've been shooting the shit probably for 2 hours now instead of actually recording because we've been having so much fun. But Mike and Danny from Penelope Bourbon, introduce yourselves to everyone. Say what you do, who you are, age, sign, all that other stuff.
Number,
yeah.
Everything.
Say hi.
Very, very excited to be here. Mike Paladini, Penelope Bourbon, CEO and founder with Danny.
How you doing? Danny Polise, Penelope Bourbon. Excited to be here as well.
We should just redo that whole intro, right?
You can if you want to. It's a podcast.
I'm just kidding.
That's the beautiful thing with the podcast.
That's the best part about it. It's like,
let's get this out of the way. Let's get the elephant out of the room, because the first time I talked to Mike on the phone, and he was like, hey, we're coming down. We want to come on. We're going to be in the area. We're going to be in Kentucky. We're bottling something. And I'm like, well, you guys have 80 proof bourbon and it's Penelope and there's a flower on the front. Like, I don't know if the dads are your audience. Are we your target audience? And then you said, well, no, you got it all wrong. Tell me a little bit about this. Tell me a little bit how you named Penelope. I want to know how you started the company to begin with. But just so everybody knows, this is a great story of how you named it.
Well, it's funny. That was the first time I've heard anyone tell me that they didn't know it was named after my daughter.
Oh, really?
That was when we talked. That was the first time. I had no idea. I thought everyone kind of knew because I'm in that little New Jersey bubble. And really, the story behind it.
We don't know your kind down here.
The line is, ain't around here, are you, boy?
I reckon.
There's tires. There's mud in your tires.
Is this the bless your heart territory?
Well, and really, this
everywhere.
Zeke looked at Mike when he walked in. He goes, "You sure got a pretty mouth." Zeke is from
For the record, I'm wearing corduroys.
So I think it's a little bit of what you see on Instagram. I think a lot of the people I've seen post on Instagram with it have been women. Not that there's anything wrong, and we are a firm believer that bourbon is a great equalizer, but 80 proof bourbon, you're not getting the hardcore drinker to actually come in and go to an 80 proof bourbon. You're probably getting people that you're trying to, I want to talk about this a little bit later on too, but you're probably getting some people that you're stealing from Scotch, you're stealing from Irish whiskey, some people that might not love bourbon. You're trying to kind of wet their beak and get them to get in there. It's not the case at all in having talked to you. Like, you guys have a cask strength. You have this 80 proof whiskey. You had a clear vision when you were doing it. Talk a little bit about how you named it. I want to then go back after and talk about how you started the business. But,
I think for me personally, I was a big bourbon drinker. I love bourbon. And, my wife and I, we were trying to have kids for, a long time. And, when going through that process with your family, it's not easy. And we found out finally we were having a girl. And, when we found out, I'll never forget it. I was in the car coming back from the landscaping store, and Carrie called me from the doctor's office. She's got the word. And I said, just tell me right on the phone. And we found out we were having a girl. And if we were, it was going to be Penelope. And I'll be honest, it happened right then and there. I said, I always wanted to start a business, and Penelope Bourbon, I said, wow, that sounds like it has a really good ring to it. I remember we have a Marco Polo group going with all of our high school friends.
Wait, what is a Marco Polo? Do you guys all get in the pool together?
No.
It's like a video messaging app.
It's a video messaging app where
but it's videos
on it.
Oh, I've never seen it.
It's
kind of like a walkie-talkie.
It's like a walkie-talkie that you do. And
I remember we used to have Nextel. Yeah. And your friends would Nextel you, like, and you'd be in the worst situation. They'd be like, "Hey, asshole, pick up your phone."
It's
kind of like that.
It's like
you can choose.
Yeah, it's like a newer version of Nextel.
I thought that was Kik.
No. Kik is like instant messaging.
Oh, but I thought...
Yeah, that's pure instant messaging. And by the way, I'm 37. Danny's 37. Like we're older. This isn't like a young millennial thing. It's
Don't say that, because we're that age.
All millennials. Yeah. If you're born in 1980 and above, you're a millennial. So I think probably all of us in that room are.
I remember when you got on and you said, you were like, guys, well, one, I'm having a baby girl. Congratulations. And then two, I want to create this bourbon company. We were all shocked. And excited. Like, it just made sense.
Long story short, we, and we've talked about this. I've come from the technology world, and within a month I was down at MGP.
A lot of people, when they're having a kid, they go seek out maybe the Old Forester birthday bourbon from that year,
right.
Or they try to find a Blanton's dump date. Zeke, being super fancy, went and got a Willet dump date on his kid's birthday, but
it was dumped that day.
Yeah, it just happened to be dumped that day. But you went and started a freaking brand.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been a kind of a go big kind of guy.
Not even go big. No, I just think it was, I don't know, man. The weight lifted off of Carrie and I's back was really big. And we went full steam ahead. I'll never forget, I cold called MGP within 24 hours of having this idea. I'm not even kidding you. I remember going on their website and be like, they have a number. It's like 1-800.
1-800 bourbon.
Yeah, 1-800 bourbon. And I literally the next day I cold called them. I think I got a response back within like 3 or 4. I called them maybe 4 or 5 times, but I finally got a call back about a week later. And they sized me up and they gave me all these questions. Well, the first thing they wanted to make sure I wasn't like a college kid just trying to get free samples. They said it on the phone, like, where is your address? It's not like university. And I went down there very soon thereafter.
And what were you seeing? Obviously, at the time that you started this, what year is this at that point? Because Penelope's not that old.
This is last May.
It's last May, so it's not like the previous people that were going to MGP. It's not like the Smooth Amblers. It's not Blonde Brothers. It's not Bellmead. It's not Pinhook. It's not all that. I'm
going in 1,000 miles an hour.
Well, no, but it's also the cost of a barrel
is high.
When you are doing it is different than all those people that were doing it in 2004, 2005, 2006.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it kind of a sticker shock when you're like, oh shit, we're doing this, but I didn't understand what the costs were? I mean, there's a million things. You're going down to MGP, you're like, I'm going to buy a barrel, but then you got to realize, like, okay, TTB's involved. There's distribution involved. There's all this other stuff involved. It's like, did you walk into MGP and they're like, cool, who's your distributor? And you're like, Paladini Inc.
Yeah.
I mean,
when we
You're like Vandalay
and
Industries.
for the record, for the folks on the phone, I mean, I'm not from this. I mean, I knew nothing. It was deer in headlights situation.
You had Danny on this other phone. You're like, say Vandalay Industries.
Yeah, Vandalay Industries, Danny. Yeah, Vandalay Industry distributor, real big. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're really big. No, I went in there and I think with a lot of passion, I was enthusiastic. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I didn't even there's no business plan. You don't write a business plan for something you're truly passionate about. And, we went there. I will never forget the date, July 12th.
Yeah.
We went to MGP July 12th, sat down there and told them the entire story, start to finish. And I think we hit it off from the moment we told them why we were doing it, what I wanted to do. I just found out I'm having a baby girl. And my idea was just looking at the market, and I took a consumer approach. I said, all right, if I'm a consumer, what works? Tito's works. I'm thinking spirits, liquor in general. And, you look at the bourbon and whiskey section and I'm like, wow, there's not many 80 proofs. So let's start there. Let's go 80 proof. What else is there not a lot of? Well, there's not a lot of 4 grains. Okay, then let's build on that. And we started building blocks. And this is before we went to MGP. I knew they were going to ask a lot of questions about this. And that was basically the start of it. We said, okay, we're going to do a 4 grain, 80 proof. We didn't even know non-chill filtered at the time. We just thought, okay, let's start there and, see how it works. And we knew a good price.
Did you taste 4 grain before you decided on this? Or was this one of those things where you're like, I don't see anything there. I'm hoping it's good. I'm going to go down and taste all this stuff and kind of pray for the best.
No, I don't mean it to be. I was going to do something funny, but no. I mean, honestly, we didn't. I mean, I was just a bourbon drinker. I didn't collect. I didn't have anything. I would usually buy Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace. I had my dailies. Yeah, that was it. And I love bourbon, but I loved it. I wasn't ingrained in it. I just really loved it. I don't drink beer. I don't drink wine. I drink bourbon. That's it. That was it. And
wine gives me headaches, so I'm with it.
So I mean that was truthfully the start of it right from there.
What got you involved then, Danny?
We were on the beach actually.
Mm-hmm.
We all went out to dinner. Our wives.
Sorry, you guys have these things where
we're together a lot.
They're together a lot, but
we are together.
They have these conversations. They're like, "Yeah, we listened to that the other night in bed, didn't we?" And I'm like, "Well,
we spent a lot of time together, even before this. We grew up next to each other.
Yeah, we were next to each other growing up.
So that's crazy. So you asked us how we met, and Zeke and I met each other playing kickball. You guys were next door neighbors in Jersey, hanging out with each other.
Yeah, literally right behind each other.
So you have been GTLing since you were just wee lads.
Yeah, you see these muscles?
Yeah.
For the record, there are no muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mike does have his Pauly D hair right now, though. It is sticking straight.
The later the night goes on, the higher his hair does get and wilder.
No hair gel.
He's got the poof. But so you were on the beach and
yeah, we all went out to dinner. Then we were having drinks on the beach in Asbury Park, and we knew about the bourbon thing and that you were going down, and we were talking, and you said, "Hey, do you want to come down with me? And see what this is all about?" And yeah, go down to Kentucky and taste bourbon. Sure, absolutely. So I signed up.
Yeah,
that was it. That's all it took.
No, an MGP. The MGP goes, "Do you want a +1?" I go, "Yeah, just give me a +1 just in case someone wants to come." Remember? That was it.
Absolutely.
And I had a +1. And I go, we were hanging out. I'm like, "Dude, I got a +1. You want to come?"
Yeah.
And then after the trip, he got the bill as being the co-founder, right?
Well, Danny and I.
That was it. That's all I did.
By the way, that affidavit you signed, this is what it really went towards.
But Danny's an engineer by trade. by trade, I'm sales and more. I mean, I've always done sales my whole life. Danny's engineering. And I think when you look at the bourbon industry, like, and how you actually put something together, there's two massive components to it. It's like distilling, blending, like there's a lot of nuts and bolts that are on the back end, which Danny, is handled. Like we wouldn't even have a company if it wasn't for Danny.
But you all have to complement each other pretty well then, because, one of you is kind of thinking with your right side of the brain, the other one's kind of thinking with the left side of the brain.
He always thinks I'm crazy, and I always think he's crazy.
That sounds like another guy in this room. So, like, I think I'm saying just between the two of us, right? We're the yin and yang, and you guys are the yin and yang. You complement each other. Together, we make a great person. We're assholes on our own.
There's a lot to figure out in this industry, so it's nice to have two perspectives, and we can navigate that well together.
I also think bringing a fresh set of, we're just bringing a consumer-centric approach to everything we do. So, from our pricing strategy to our product, like, do we like it? It's just all about the taste. Can I drink this? And will I drink it again? And I think that's really everything we do is always about, if I'm a consumer, will I have this and will I like it?
And we really try to keep our hands in every aspect of
Well, that's a good play. I mean, we talked about it earlier, not to dance around too much, but, especially between, new labels, brands, companies, however you want to look at it. But, at the end of the day, it's a new face on the shelf. Between, A, price point, and B, the profile or flavor that's delivered. At the end of the day, that, it's just like relationships. First impressions mean the most. And, if your price point's at this range and your, profiles at, a certain range, they have to line up to a degree, or, folks are just going to be scorned and say, hey, yeah, I'm not buying that again. If it's $9 for something and it's lackluster, for lack of better words, folks are going to look at you and scoff. But, if somebody spends $45, $50 and they get something and it may not be their favorite, but it's not atrocious, yeah, I'll try it again. It's a new blend, new batch. Like, there's new things going on. If it's sourced, it could be from a new distillery, new blend, etc. You always keep your foot in the door. To me, that's one of the biggest things I've seen with the newcomers in the space is simply like, just don't burn any bridges or any customers on that initial offering or their first buy by being too far out of line, so to speak.
Absolutely. Price was super important.
For us, price was everything. For our 4-grain 80 proof, I did not want this over $34.99. In some cases, a lot of folks, it's $39.99. So it's $30.99. It's a great price point.
No, plenty of folks will always say, well, price doesn't matter if it's good. Well, shit, you still got to pay for it somehow.
But we don't want folks, like, my whole thing was, I don't want it even to, not even sit on a retail shelf. I don't want it to sit at the home shelf. I want this thing I want people to enjoy it, like it, and buy it again.
We want them to have life experiences around drinking.
That's why it was always about Buffalo Trace, and it was about an Eagle Rare, and I think they always had great products at great prices. I think that's why Tito's did so well. They're great marketers, but I think they put out a good product at a good price, and we're not trying to devalue what we're doing. I just think there was a market for this, and I think when we started to really break it down, we said, I think there's you look at a lot of single malts, and you look at a lot of scotches from the Highlands. They're 40% alcohol by volume, and those are nice entry level scotches. And whether you're a big bourbon drinker that is wants a sessions, that wants to enjoy a few of them, or you're new to the business or new to having bourbon, I think it's a really good sip to have.
Well, let's back it up a little bit, because everybody always talks about, the barrel picking experience. And I know MGP is traditionally very close. They guard their secrets closely. they're very vague about what actually happens. Is it something where like, it's like Whistle Pig, they put you up for the weekend, you get a chef, you're going through and actually, tasting different barrels, or is it more industrial and more business-like where, you're going in saying this is the stuff I want and it's not necessarily catered to the customer? I mean, I know you don't, they're a partner, you're not saying anything bad. It's just, what's their approach?
Well, with batch one, they were trying to get us to buy like 250 barrels. I think we talked about this. And we were like,
and you were like, I just found out I'm having a kid. Like,
I got this girl, but I have this good idea, and I'm thinking doing this 4 grain and they're we had a conversation. I'll tell you what, we started with 6 barrels, and so no, at a 6 barrel purchase, we weren't getting the luxury treatment, but I think it was more of they actually did believe in what we were doing. They kind of saw the idea, they saw the passion, they saw that we weren't just had a shitload of money and we're coming down and just saying, give me all this stuff and I'm going to bottle it right off the bat. They wanted us to prove to them that we were really in it for the long haul. And so, but we always said, and from, coming from technology, we felt that doing a beta was the best thing. Like we knew we were going to get a lot of loss. We knew there was going to be blind spots. We just didn't know what they were going to be. So we didn't know, we just didn't know what those blind spots might be. And that's why I thought the 6 barrels.
Yeah. They've been very collaborative. I mean, it's not like that we went in there and we just picked from a list of barrels. It was, what are you looking for? They helped us kind of go where we wanted to go, where the vision was. And they're just, very collaborative in that aspect.
I'll come back to some of the things you were mentioning, but I find it interesting when you talk about doing a beta and doing a pilot, so you have, for other people that aren't as ingrained in tech as you and I are, your pilot, they're going to be your new users. You're going to try some software out on them, see how it goes, and then you'll bring it back and actually make the product. So, when you're thinking about proof of concept, do you guys think you are at proof of concept state? Like you have your POC, you have a pilot. How far do you think you are down the line to what your eventual Penelope Bourbon product is? Or do you think you found it along the way? Is it something where
our MVP?
Are you agile in the sense where you're probably 60% of the way there and you're figuring out that other 40%? Or do you have fully defined requirements and you are you're moving forward with development?
No, that's a good question. I think with our Penelope Bourbon, our product, I think it was our MVP. I think
that's
this
minimum viable product for those of you that do not know what's going on.
Yeah, it still doesn't mean shit.
Our minimum viable product, but it was never meant in the tech term MVP. Do you know what I mean?
It's meant in like the Tom Brady term.
Exactly.
MVP.
Can we still, win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
So we kind of went into this there was no big expectations other than we had a budget. We didn't have unlimited funds, and we had to be really smart with our money, and we didn't want to do we had to do what we needed to do. We knew we wanted 80 proof. We knew we wanted a 4 grain. I'll be honest with you. This product is not changing. We're making subtle adjustments to the blend, how we blend. Some of the really, and Danny, you can speak to the blending process, but we talked about it earlier, but really how you're blending this makes a huge, huge difference to the taste profile. And our whole goal now is really just creating the best 80 proof on the market. I mean, that's really our big goal right now.
And which, by 4 grain, just to clarify, because I read on the back of one of these labels, is it a single 4 grain mash, or from the blending you end up with 4 grains total?
It's from the blending you end up with 4 grains total.
That's the impression I got. I just wanted to try and clarify that.
I think that was important to balance the flavor profile. Mm-hmm. When you start working with 4 grains, it's extremely important to have that balance. So, I think this blend really, really kind of hits that.
Well, that's what kind of caught me off guard at first too, especially like knowing MGP and the fact they have just literally countless mash bills that you may or may not even know about or have a clue existed. I was like, really? MGP has a 4 grain? Like, I've never seen anybody that's putting out a 4 grain from MGP. Like, okay. And then I was reading the back, and I got the more impression it was a blend of 3 different mashes, which, at the end of the day, it's still 4 grains, in the final product, just for anyone that's peculiar and wanted to know.
But that's common for a lot of people from MGP, right? Where it might be a blend of 2 different barrels that get to a specific mash bill that they want, and somebody goes like, I know MGP doesn't have that mash bill. How the hell do y'all get it? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I blended 2 or 3 barrels together, and that's where I got it.
Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
And our blending, I mean, I think we were talking about it on the way down today, just opens up a huge opportunity for variations and experimentations. And we were running through a bunch of them today about what are we going to do next with this blend? What can we do with this blend? So we're really excited to kind of move into that next tier.
It just yields to fun and having a good time, and it's kind of like what music were we jamming out to that day? Like, what was the vibe?
Yeah,
were we uppity? Were we melancholy? Was this or that happening? Like, really, what was going on at that one moment of a time capsule? But we locked it in and said, "Nah, man, this is what we want to put out for our next release."
That is honestly the beauty.
Find some simple way to notate it's still our brand, still our product. It's going to have its core, value, so to speak, as far as the profile goes. Mm-hmm. And the nuances, to me, that's where the fun is. I mean, we talk about it plenty. If I could do anything, it would just be sitting around tinkering with blends all day.
No, exactly.
If I put a few drops of that one that I liked last night, what is it going to do? I mean, it's just.
That's the beauty of it.
So it's a rabbit hole that never ends.
It's honestly my favorite day. Dump day is my favorite day.
And you guys just had a dump day, didn't you?
It's like having
Monday
Christmas
dump day
multiple times a year.
Monday dump day.
The engineer in me likes to geek out with the barrels, and I remember every time that we've hit our blend for each batch, I remember distinctively the vision of when it happens and the look on our faces. I know
when my kids were born, and I remember when each batch was blended.
Oh, that's absolutely. Seriously.
Yeah.
But no, I get it. I mean, the only thing I would be conscious of, having never truly been in that role, is all right, so when do you say it's enough?
Yeah.
All right, just cut it, close the auction, or drop the hammer, or whatever you want to look at.
That's usually Mike.
But you have that moment of all right,
this is
Yeah, this is
just
good.
quit chasing. We're good where we are.
For what we have for now.
We'll worry about this next time, but
Yes.
we're not going to just endlessly sit here and go, well, what if we did a little bit of that?
Well, the beginning part of this creating this business, I think we knew nothing about it, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it was just we're entrepreneurs, and we love bourbon. So I don't know. For us, it was. We had to figure out permits, compliance, all the stuff that wasn't fun. I mean, that sucks. I mean, it was terrible.
Extremely hands-on with every aspect of this company.
We didn't hire attorneys. We filed our own paperwork. Sorry, we do have an attorney now. We love him. He's great. Ryan, the best.
Do you look at him? Do you look at him though and say hey, I did this before you, so whatever he's charging, it's you could charge a little bit less.
Just come down a little bit on that.
I did this for you before.
So we did. It's just paperwork. All you have to do, it's like filling out a mortgage.
Right.
You just got to do the paperwork.
Do all our own taxes.
We do all our own taxes. We do everything ourselves. We literally run this business entirely ourselves.
How much did MGP point you all in the right direction? When you went down there and you're because you were the first one, you said you called them within 24 hours. They were the first ones you called. And you go, I want to start this brand. I want to do this. Did they say hey, here's our checklist. Here are the 10 things you're going to need to do?
He said, he was
they ask you pointed questions, but then they leave you. Remember? They would just, they definitely let you do they give you the tools to create what you want to create.
So it's like, hey, here's a barrel. How you are then going to move that barrel, you're on your own.
Oh yeah, there's no lesson on sales and distribution. I mean, that was
no.
Well, I think John
truthfully
more
sales
like
and distribution is probably
like registering as an NDP, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I think that's where he's
or
going
say say when you're going into the NFL and you're a rookie going into the NFL and they have those rookie symposiums. And they have veterans come up and say,
camp.
well, no, it's not even rookie camp. I'm saying this is the administrative stuff where you're sitting in an auditorium and some guy comes up and goes, listen, I blew all my money. Don't buy cars, don't buy houses, like all that stuff. Like you're going to want to get a money manager. You're going to want to get an accountant. You're going to want to get all, like they'll say, this is what I want you to do in the first year. And it's teaching those people that stuff. There's nobody in whiskey. You have to go to different people and say, hey, can you help me?
Yeah.
But on your own, if you want to go buy something, it's not like Roger Goodell is having people sit down with you and say, these are the mistakes not to make when you're first doing it, right?
It was a little bit different. I mean, in the sense, I was just like, do you have like a label guy? Do you have so it's not like an NFL guy's like, do you have a guy that makes shoulder pads? It was more like, can I just do you know a guy that makes caps? Can I get a label? Like, who's your label guy? Like, can you mind throwing it? And they were amazing at that.
Where do you go for glasses?
Do you have a guy that makes good football helmets? I just need like a little bit better one. But no, that was the big thing. It was all about introductions to the bottle and the package and the nuts and bolts of it. That was the big thing for sure.
So I'm following, right? You guys are figuring all this out on your own. What was the hardest part? Was it going to TTB, the COLA?
Oh, dude, that's a good question.
What was the hardest part after? Because it seems like, funny enough...
It's cute. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, funny enough, there's so many
bad.
people
Taxes are tough.
that talk about, buying barrels and, but not necessarily starting a brand. It seems like getting the barrels were the easiest part of the whole thing for you.
It was, by far. The hardest part is selling it,
right?
By far. There's so much. I mean, there's a couple blind spots to creating this company that we had no idea. I was just like, let's get in the bourbon business and let's do it. We love bourbon. There was so many blind spots that we just now appreciate so much more. I think number one is the process around blending for us was, I mean, we're not even distilling it ourselves. So like, that's not even can be considered a blind spot because we're not doing that. For us, blending was, I'll be honest with you, I thought we were just going to dump barrels and just throw them in a bottle. I'm like, this is like, let's go, ship, let's do it.
Yeah. And
it is like, so, oh my gosh, we have more cases in our warehouse in New Jersey that we are not selling because it didn't meet spec. The first batch one was a total shit show.
We are
total
literally
shit.
Why don't you send them down here and see what Zeke and I can do with them?
We will. No, we absolutely.
We'll blend them up.
And I think we're a little.
We did pay. We already paid New Jersey excise tax on it.
And people tell us that we're a little tough on ourselves to that extent, where we will say, no, we're not going to put that on the shelf.
We're not shipping a product that sucks.
Yeah.
No, that's bullshit. That's our brand. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about the package, the cap, what's the story on the back. What really matters is what's in the glass.
Yeah. Like I said, the first impression, it's a handshake.
That's it.
It's a hi, nice to meet you.
Man, I've had bourbons. I've taken one sip. I'll never drink that brand again.
Yeah.
And that's from just a consumer perspective.
No, I mean,
I refuse.
We always say that.
We'll never. It's not about that.
And that's why we take that perspective.
Like somebody that's established that has an annual release, whether it's Beam or Buffalo Trace or whoever. Like, yeah, they could have a bad Booker's or some part of the BTAC be bad. People are still going to crave it because it is what it is, and they're established. But when you're on the other side of the coin and you're new, like you get one chance. Like this is your open mic.
I remember
don't F it up.
All the time.
Yeah,
we talk about this literally all the time. We'd say, no, like, we have cases upon cases in our warehouse that just
Yeah.
We use them for when we do events.
Yeah.
And we have we're making batch drinks.
Or, hey, Mom, you want a bottle?
You're making eggnog. Here, put this in there.
My mom loves anything I put in a bottle.
Well, it's like I told you about those, when we were talking about the different blends, and Ashley Barnes told Pennington, like, hey, take these 3, put these in a blend. These are your single barrel potentials on here on the right side.
Right.
You're taking sips of those and you go, you know what? These aren't good enough to be in our blend. I don't know what we're going to do with these. We might be able to blend them out in the future. I don't think you guys feel like you have the right expertise to blend that out. You need some help from the companies that you're working with in order to find the right blending profile to kind of move that out. Maybe it can be used further down the line so you're not getting rid of it, but it's not something you like at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we were in the process today, and we literally took a whole section of cases and put it to the side, and we're going to do something else with those cases.
We're just going to throttle it.
Mm-hmm.
So is MGP doing the blending for you, or is that you guys?
We transfer the barrels in bond and bring them to wherever we're going to, bottle it.
Yeah. We're very adamant about being
We've had 3 different bottlers in the last 8 months, and it's not a testament to any of them. It's more like we're growing, so you go from like super, super small capacity to trying to lock up, any sort of bottling was a big. I mean, there's so many barrels being laid right now. There's warehouses going up everywhere. I think contract bottling capacity is going to be, really, really important. And so we decided to have 2 bottlers from our side. But for us, we felt Castle and Key was, a perfect fit for what we wanted to do. We knew we needed expertise help on the blending side. And so we kicked off that relationship, on Monday, which has been awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So many barrels being laid and so many dads that aren't.
Yeah.
Well.
Mom is the word.
And this is the time I just want to say I love my wife, Carrie. Carrie, I love you, babes. I miss you, and we're doing it, babes.
Well, you brought her down. You brought the wives down, both of you, to Kentucky to go on this trip with you.
Not Danny.
Not mine. Candace, next time.
Well, that's because you wanted to sleep in the same bed.
Yeah, your wife came down, but we never mind.
This has been kind of a Tommy boy experience.
My wife, we were just talking about it at the restaurant. Carrie's like, I feel like I haven't seen you all week. I'm like, Carrie, you were with me in Kentucky all week. But no, this is it. This is our livelihood.
Yeah, Mike is kind of like a skinny Tommy boy, and you are more of the David Spade Danny.
He looks more Fallon.
You got Jimmy Fallon.
No, he does look Fallon, but
he's a Fallon.
I'd rather be Fallon than Spade.
No, but I'm just saying personality. I could tell personality.
You just mentioned that last night. He's a Fallon guy.
No, you do look
top off.
You do look exactly like Jimmy Fallon, but I'm talking about.
I act like David Spade.
No, I'm saying like. You already know that Mike's the guy who's going to go in and be like, this is my pretty pet.
Right? Yeah.
I
pretty pet.
I petted it.
And you're the one sitting there like, oh my God, I could hear you.
Bad pet.
Yeah. I think you said that on Monday.
What's that?
Bad pet. When we were talking. Yeah.
No.
Never mind. Yeah, you did.
He came in and he goes, Richard, not quite here. Not right here, but right here really
There's
hurts.
something on my face.
By the way, I heard a funny story about that Tommy Boy thing. I think he really got hit with a 2x4.
By Spade?
Yeah, by Spade. That scene, when they smacked him, the crack in that 2x4 wood was actually the wrong way, and he got hit the hard way. And that's a real scar. That was a real hit that he took. Fun fact.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
He was known for his physical comedy, but you guys have been on the road, not only
nonstop
selling it, but
oh my God.
First batch was 6. You had that 80 proof, but now I have to assume you're over 6 because you now have cast strength. And there's not only one cast strength on the table, there's 2. There's 116.6 proof, and there's also 117.8. Where did we go from having the 6 to begin with?
So we officially launched March 1st with the 6 barrels on batch 1. And our whole marketing strategy is being in the field. It's like, there's a lot of great bourbons out there. Let's just get people to try it. They like it, good price, they'll buy it. That's been our entire strategy from the get-go. So batch 1 was 6 barrels, batch 2 was 15. And we sell through them, we go through start the next one.
Out of that 15, how many go to cast strength versus?
Batch 2, we did no cast strength. None. We didn't do cast strength till batch 3. Yeah, this was the first. That's the first cast strength right there, the 117.8. Yeah.
So you guys also, and Zeke, feel free to jump in whenever. You know me, I'm just going to go.
I just kick the shit out of you if I need to talk.
Okay. So you guys are almost like the fish of the bourbon industry. And I say that because home base, there's not really a home base besides your house. You know, it's not like there's a distillery. It's like,
we have a beautiful warehouse now. And beautiful warehouse.
It smells delicious.
But I'm saying even with, you know, where your contract
we don't even
distilling,
have a tasting room.
You have...
We want one.
Your contract distilling, you go to Castle and Key, they're doing blending down there for you, and they're doing bottling. But, like, there's no one place right now. You're just on the road jamming.
We're nomads.
And...
yeah.
Selling whiskey, but there's not one place where you're like, this is it. Like it might be in the future, right? You think there would be?
Because we figure
I gotta
ourselves
ask Spade
out.
over
the full transparency circle. I mean, every single day I tell, you know, we talk about it. I go, we need our DSP. I mean, you need your DSP for innovation.
Yeah.
What we were talking about earlier, to like throttle and tweak and try different things. You have to have. We're still so young. Like we're not trying to. We're still just trying to figure out our identity.
I don't think that's a bad thing, right?
No, and neither are we. Like it's okay. Like we're cool with that.
At least with the current boom too, and you know, obviously MGP's there, and there are a few other folks that are happy to source your barrels, bourbon, wherever you look at, mashes, etc. You know, it gives you enough time to play around with it and say, all right, do you make any of this? Do you make any of this? Can we buy, you know, a flat or two and tinker with it?
Tweak it.
And then,
see what we can do.
But then you don't have, you know, the cost and just the so much time and expense given into simply, well, we distilled this mash, didn't like it, did this, did that, didn't like it, etc. Like, all right. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it eats into your profits, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's got to be a little bit better to say, all right, your MGP, you've got 40 plus mash bills.
Delicious mash bills.
Let us buy some different ones. We tinker around with it on its own in blends, etc. Get a better feel for which product or products and, you know, mashes we like, so that if we ever want to divulge into that space, at least we know where we want to go versus just, you know, blind shots in the dark almost.
Yeah, no, we love MGP, but there's a lot of great juice out there.
Oh yeah.
Like we're not like, hey, look, we brought this in here. I mean, we're thinking, we're trying to move the envelope. I don't know, whatever. It's just, you know, we're constantly trying.
Oh no, I'm
to
not saying it has to be MGP. I'm just saying I think in an infancy state as far as sourcing, having multiple sources that are out there with multiple mash bills, yes, it eats into profit, but B, it allows the luxury of simply saying, you know, I can get a heavy wheated, I can get a heavy malted, I can get a high corn.
Right.
I can do this or that. I can try them all, see what I think fits my profile the best and or a blending profile the best. And then therefore, you know, if you ever want to take that second step of like, all right, let's really make this, you know, front end to back end our completely own business. You're not just, hey, well, so-and-so has this mash bill and they always put out good products. I think we should just do that. You know what I mean? You get a better feel for what you're doing.
Right, you're not putting a mash out and then laying on it for years and not knowing.
Yeah, I think that would be a very, you know, strong part of the learning curve, I guess, for lack of better words.
Yeah. And I think that, like what Mike said, our next step is really getting our DSP so that we can, you know, play with different R&D, mashes and start tweaking in our own like little, lab per se,
Yeah.
and then to really figure out what our next steps are going to be.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, I don't want to have investors. I don't want to have we're bootstrapping this, and that's I think the beauty of our business. Danny and I are our only bosses right now, which I love.
Well, and that's super interesting.
Yeah, that's
because you're always hearing about all these people that are like,
all these
I went in debt, I went into this, but it might take you longer to get to the goal. And to go back to something that I asked you early on.
Yeah, and if any banks are listening, if you have bank loans, I'm all in.
But I almost think
you're gonna get 5,000 calls tomorrow.
I know, right?
Do you want to give your phone number?
No, Danny's number.
No, yeah, exactly.
Nope.
But I almost think that you guys, with the bourbon, you might have figured out what the MVP is, but with the business, you're more agile than any. You're still trying to figure out. You're 60% of the way there. You're like,
I think we're less than that. I think we're 10% there.
I know I want bourbon. What we're going to do to build the infrastructure around that is up in the air.
Exactly.
And I'm going to let the market kind of dictate. Fish still makes a shit ton of money touring all year. You don't need to be in one spot to necessarily get. It could be a pop-up tasting room where it's like, listen, tasting room is going to be in Nashville for a week. We're going to work with a bar and this is going to be our place for a week. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be in one spot. I don't think, I'm kind of talking out of my ass right now, but I don't think anybody's ever done it. You got to be a road warrior, but it's like we're not going to be in the same spot all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, we said earlier, I don't want to say MVP, but we are really, really open about being cool that we don't know. Of course, it's named after my daughter. We're going to drop, a series named after Danny's son, Cooper. I think at the end of the day, I think it's okay not to know your identity. We're all
Flexibility is good.
Exactly. I'm like, it's okay not to be like, I don't have all the answers today.
Yeah.
I just don't know what, tomorrow, I don't know. We could crowdsource. What should we try to do as a line extension in the spring?
Yeah.
That's a huge answer we're trying to figure out right now.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the best line extension? Because I don't want to release barrel strength in the spring. I don't. I want to release it in the fall. And that's, and I think maybe we throttle it some more. We try to tweak it. Like you had said, Zeke, work on it, try to figure it out more. But
and we've been going back and forth all day long about what's spring what are we gonna do in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the car ride down here. I mean, I think the best part about this business is it's okay not to know. We have to figure it out eventually.
Right.
We have to come up with some solid answers. But
Callahan,
I think it's I don't know. We have a lot of humility in the sense that we're cool being we are bourbon drinkers. That's our true passion.
Mm-hmm.
We still run a business and we have a lot of obligations and stuff like that. So we got to figure it out.
And a business that was named after your daughter. This is going to sound overly cheesy, and Zeke is going to give me plenty of shit for this, but
he's already rolling his eyes.
He rolls his eyes at me a lot. But a business that's born out of love, that's essentially what it is. And it's not only your love for your daughter, but it's the love for the bourbon. So let's talk about the bourbon a little bit. It's a 4-grain. Do you know what the mash bill? I mean, obviously you had to put some things together, but what is the mash bill? What's the age? We know it's 80
mash
proof.
Bills going in.
Mash bills.
Yeah.
Well, what's the eventual proportion? I think we don't need to get.
We can give you all of it. I mean,
I think that's going to vary each time because depending on what they blend, there's going to be a lesser amount percents of all three mashes. So I think as long as you know the 3 mashes going in, that's the easiest way to explain it. Because every blend is going to be higher or lower on percents.
And the mash bill is always fluctuating. It's never a set mash. We can give you a generalization, but so really we use a 99% corn, a 21% rye, and a 45% wheat.
And I can tell you that something that surprises people when I tell them is that it is usually around 75% corn. And they're like, really? 75% corn? They don't really pick up on that.
I could see that being the final yield. I mean,
It's
even more so lately. I mean, the 99.1 light whiskey from MGP, the 99 corn 1 barley, it's picked up some traction, and it's not corn in the sense of like what people think of as in, young product, mellow corn, etc. I mean, and some various other NDPs are also putting stuff out. Even folks that don't like it on its own, if they take a step back, they can appreciate, like, all right, I may not want this in, a Glen and a neat pour, but I could do a lot with this in a blend because it's not going to take much to move it one way or the other, depending on how much you put in. It's not one of those like 10, 20%. We'll see. Like, no, this is much more finite because it's going to move the needle, that much. Almost like, to me, I would think of it as adding in something, like a 20-plus-year-old oak product, or, that much oak in the product, rather, to where, you've got to be very incremental, because as soon as you tip the seesaw, so to speak, you went from one side of the coin to the other, and you're not coming back.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
I feel like we're in it now. We've been, we're now like, I want to push the envelope as much as possible. And, look, these Japanese whiskeys are blowing up, right? They're like, you guys probably see, everyone loves Japanese whiskeys, and it's a great Japanese oak tree. And to me, I think like what I saw Buffalo Trace doing with these, with the Canadian oak.
Oh, they're trying everything right now with that.
But I think to me, that is the most interesting thing, is pushing the envelope. And we're like newbies, but I think for me, anything I could do to push the envelope to have a unique taste profile, we want to do. I want to have something different.
At least I would say, generally speaking, the more expensive the barrel, the more flavor it imparts. I mean, it at least yields what you're paying for. I mean, the stuff we had this Mizunara, honestly, however you say it, I'm not the best. It imparts strongly. We talked earlier about, French oak, the limousine wood. It imparts a certain flavor or flavors very strongly. I mean, you get the bang for the buck there if that's the bang you want. It's not so much as using, a random wine or other one-off type of finishing, but the fact that wood's still fresh oak, it gets in there and it does its job. If anything, I would tell anybody that was dabbling in that space, test it often, because you never know when, the tide's going to really start to move, and you've got to decide, all right, we need to bottle this thing right now, as in yesterday, because it's right at the point where I want it to be, or maybe a little too far because we didn't taste it last week, and put this damn thing in a bottle right now.
See, that's what we got to get into.
Yeah, absolutely.
To speak to we are very agile. And, John and I, we come both from technology. I'm like, I move quick. I hear something. I like it. I want to move on it. To show you as an example, here's the 80 proof from September. Look at that back label. I have a conversation with John. And now, by the way, I get a lot of ideas. Everyone's like, here's how you're going to build the next Brooklyn Bridge. And I get that all the time, like just different things. And I had one conversation with John. It was so funny. I was sitting outside of that Buy Right in Milltown. Shout out to the Buy Right in Milltown, New Jersey.
He's like, hold on, I got to go.
I literally had to be like, dude, like, love the conversation. Like, this is awesome. The guy is like sitting there staring at me in the door. I have to go in there. And I was like, can you give me like 10 minutes? It's going to be like a 10-minute thing. I just got to go in there. And that was a 3K deal. That was a good deal. But
it was a great deal. You should be proud of him.
I'm very proud.
It was a good deal. Did it.
3K
It's funny. You
Tommy
said that earlier.
Tommy
like wingy. But there was a couple times I've talked to John where I've just been, I'm in and out, man. I'm on the road every day. I'm grinding, dude. You know that. So, but John brought up an idea, and I was like, he said it, and I was like, whoa.
Well, it all goes back to the story. I think you guys have such a good story, and I think when you're so close to it, it's like you were saying, you're so close to it, you live in that bubble in Jersey and you're like, oh, everybody knows I'm Mike Paladini and I got a daughter named Penelope and everybody knows it. Like everybody knows me. I'm driving around. The people at the buy right know it. And
Got cases in my car.
as you're going outside of Jersey, it's like, how do you tell your story? How do you let people know definitively that Penelope is the ultimate birthday bourbon?
Oh man, that was
sorry, but continue.
that was beautiful. That was really nice. I mean, but that's true. It's funny. We became so engulfed in selling it in our home state. John, I mean, he made this comment, and it is named after my daughter. And we didn't do when he had told me that he didn't know it was named after Penelope. I was like, that was a wake up call. I go, God, I don't think we're really. We're not telling that story as well as we should. And he goes, think about how you have it's an amazing opportunity. I mean, it's a great story. Like we're dads.
We're both dads. We both have daughters. I know what it's like. Zeke kind of knows what it's like. His daughter's a little younger.
She's mean.
Once she starts hugging you, it tells you, I got told, Daddy, you're not my best friend today.
Oh, no.
That was really bad. But
it's like,
It's because I told her she couldn't have a cookie before dinner. And she goes, you're not my best friend.
Tomorrow she gets a cookie before dinner, problem solved, right?
Yeah. But continue, sorry.
No, but I mean, dude, if you think about it, this was like, 30 days ago?
Yeah.
And I mean this sincerely. I hear you get everyone, my mom included, it's got all these great ideas. And I just one ear out the other. But, what you said was right about building a narrative around being a young company. It's named after our, my daughter. And so, we named it First Steps. Like John had said, credit is due, that's not even the saying. Credit's due where credit's due. But it's how it's true. And that's the beginning of it. That was 30 days. That was actually like impossible to even add that for the cola. I wanted to show you that because that was entirely John. And I'll be honest with you, we're going to change a lot of how we think about the narrative from that conversation.
No, it's always good to have a fluid model.
And I like it, of course.
The minute you put boundaries on
it, that, man.
You go downhill.
We have to.
Dude,
that was like John, like that was.
He's talking over because you're giving me a compliment. It doesn't happen too often on this show. A lot of people are like, I kind of side with Zeke. I'm more of the David Spade of this show.
I wish I was that skinny.
I wish I was.
We have a pretty good.
We drink bourbon. We're never going to be that skinny.
I look like Tommy Boy, act like David Spade on this show. That's kind of how it works.
We have a pretty good streak going of blind tastings, and if something gets picked out of that by a company, who they went with.
Oh no! It's one of them. It was Hochstadter's.
There's more than one.
No, there's only one.
No,
there's only one that if a company picked based off of what we said, I liked one, Zeke liked the other, and the vatted rye was the one that. Anyway, but let's talk real quick because we could be talking for a long time. And Mike, love the story, and thank you for having that conversation with me because I think it's one of those things of. People can kind of think of us and be like, oh, you're just two guys that have a podcast. Like, why am I going to spend that much time talking? And I think that's one of the things that's a little bit different about us that we want to build a relationship with people before we even have them on. I mean, there's no relationship other than just for people listening. We're not taking money from them. They're not taking money from us. There's not anything like that. It's just, hey, we both like whiskey.
Talking about bourbon.
Let's have a long time talking about it. And, I think you have an interesting story. We'd love to tell it. Come on the podcast. And that's all we did. But you're a busy guy. That hour and a half that you spent talking to me, you could be out selling 3 more cases. So, just want to let you know how much I appreciate that. But before we go, I do want to actually talk about the whiskey itself because we would be remiss if we did not talk about that. Now, Zeke.
And for the record, it says First Steps on the back.
It does. I saw it. And I'll take a picture of that and I'll make sure I put it up on our Instagram and Facebook when we're putting this one up.
Penelope's literally taking her first steps.
Has she yet?
Yeah, she's like a nut. She's running around. Carrie is, she's a good mother. She's, we're always trying to, now I heard she's opening up gates. That's what Carrie told me.
Oh, wait till that, and then
the
they
gate
can
opening
climb
thing's
over.
no
them.
good, right?
Oh, no, it's great.
Zeke, I think there's definitely two distinct profile. I mean, that you got three?
Yeah. Well, there's two 80s and then the two different cast strengths. But the 80s are on point with each other.
No, the 80s are on point with each other. I only had one cast strength at this point, but
You talk too damn much.
I do. But tell me what you got in the 80.
Marshmallows. Literally, that's my only note. Marshmallows nose, marshmallows palate, maybe light caramel or vanilla behind it. I laughed, not in jest, but simply of the notion of like when you said we want to make a really good 80 proof drinker at a good price point. I was just like, well, shit, they accomplished it. Like, I laughed at the notion myself. Like, all right, man, it's 80 proof. Like, most folks buy 80 proof. They're not necessarily there for taste. That's your fourth and fifth pour for the night.
Sessions.
Or if you're 80 proof from the get-go, then you started a lot earlier than most people. It just tasted like marshmallows over and over. Like I say, some vanilla caramel kind of,
With a little Hershey's and over a fire? Or?
No, just that one.
The s'more part.
Yeah,
just the marshmallow.
No, you need more proof to get that marshmallow, or not the marshmallow, but the chocolate.
He's talking Sandlot.
To get that kind of malt, graham cracker, aged, dry bite to it, I think that needs the age of the higher proof. But no, I mean, honest to goodness, it's just like a big marshmallow to me. And I've poured it 3 times now, if you haven't noticed. It's such a simple notion to say we want to make a very reasonably priced 80 proof drinker that has an impactful flavor, but it's easy across the board. This does it. I mean, it's spot on what your goal was. No fluff intended either. Like it's there.
No marshmallow fluff.
No, I mean it's just spot on. Like that's what.
Sorry, I made a pun. I made a tad pun.
Well, I mean, you don't see people.
Yeah, so no fluff intended.
You don't see folks that are buying
I just told
an
this
80
joke
proof.
like a diary. I just said it again.
We've clearly been drinking too much.
But you don't see folks that buy
That was a great joke,
buy an 80 proof thinking, all right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to nose and taste this. Mm-hmm. Given where the consumer market varies, I just don't see folks that are buying 80 proof thinking I'm going to get a good nose and a palate off of this. And it's for other things, for lack of better words. But this is a great pour.
I think intended for what they were trying to do, especially steal some of those people that might be drinking wine, some of those people that might be drinking Irish whiskey or Scotch.
Rosé.
Mission accomplished in being that flavorful. I think that's probably one of the things that a lot of the 80 proof miss is having more flavor when you're trying to steal those people over, because it can feel a little watered down and thin. And Mike sent us over a couple bottles of these, and I kept it. I opened them tonight, Zeke, and thank you for sending it to us. That by no means changes our opinion on anything, whether or not someone sends it to us or not. I'm not lying. I wasn't optimistic, and I'm just being honest from every, I'm like, man, we had this great talk. I really like him as a guy. It's 80 proof whiskey. I like the story. I don't know if I'm going to like the 80 proof whiskey, but I like the 80 proof whiskey. Feel a hell of a lot better being able to say that, because I was like, you didn't open it yet? I was like, no, I was waiting for you.
Oh, shit, you didn't open it.
But I should have, and I was a little worried because I'm like, what if we had a good conversation? What if I open this and I'm like, damn it.
But going to be here.
I'm surprised at how much flavor is on that 80 proof. I get a little more black licorice than Zeke does, and I don't expect our palates to ever align, but I really like it. I mean, it's kind of got a little bit of that peppermint, black licorice thing to me, and but I do see where he could get the marshmallow, and I just think it's not thin. It's not a thin 80 proof to me. I mean, it's 80 proof. It tastes like 80 proof, but I'm not sitting there going like, I'm really disappointed at where this proof is. I think that flavor more than makes up for it. And it's something that when I am editing and I want to have more than 2, it's something I would definitely go for. How much is this one again?
I mean, you got $30. You got I'd say average is $34.99.
Mm-hmm. I think you need to.
I'm gonna do that again. Yeah, I mean, really, it's like $34.99.
I think you need to get more than 12 barrels a batch. I would drink the hell out of this at $30. You know, I think if you think of the other stuff that's around there, yeah, Elijah Craig is a 92 proof for $30. You got some of the other stuff.
John loves to say, it punches above its weight.
No, it definitely punches above its weight.
That's a John line for proofing.
I almost like it, the 80 proof, where it's at $30. I'm not going to feel bad paying $30 for a good bottle of whiskey, but it's also one of those things where it's like if I'm working late, whether or not it's a day job,
give me another one.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting good taste, and I feel like I can get it longer rather than kind of go quick with 2 high proofers.
I mean, we didn't make this for whiskey drinkers. I made it for my wife. Seriously, I'm not even kidding you. Like, I made this to try to get, like, yes, of course, 80. We had the whole, we were trying to differentiate yourself on a retail shelf. But, like, really, like, I'm trying to get, my wife loves vodka and pink lemonade. I want her to think the category needs
be careful.
Reshift.
It's a thin line, because I think all of us that have the what we would know is the less expensive versus more expensive bourbon in the cabinet, the new to bourbon wife might not know. Oh, I'm gonna go pour this because it's a pretty looking label. You did what? You drink.
What's this one?
You drink how much of my what? Yeah, that was $1,000 bottle.
That was actually off limits. I weren't supposed to do that.
I liked the Willet because it had the nice little badge on the front.
And I love Game of Thrones.
So where are you on the cask drinks, John Boy?
I like them. I get a little more corn from the cask strength. I think more of the mash bill and more of the flavor comes out as it's higher proof. I like it. It's definitely not like a certain distillery that Zeke does not like, the corn profile that's there. I think it's more akin to like what I get from a Pinhook. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
I was going to say, at least for me, I got a pretty good difference out of both of those 2 batches.
Yes.
The more recent one was the 117, right?
No, 116.
116.
Okay.
116 was today.
The more recent one, I felt had a much more aged oak presence to it.
That's Castle and Key.
It had a little more char in it, a little more of that back end kind of bite.
That's Strong Spirits and Bardstown. It's the earlier one.
Whereas the first one to me seemed a little more sweeter and just kind of had more of that, I guess probably maybe a little more white whiskey in there, a light whiskey in there, I would guess. Mm-hmm. You could tell to a degree cut from the same cloth, but you give those to people in blinds, that's 2 different pours. And you'll see, just like John and I, where palates align or disalign and you agree to disagree, so to speak. But to me, it was enough of like, yeah, there's a common thread here, first or second cousins, not brother and sister kind of thing of like, here's this batch. Here's another one. We're going to tinker every time. They're not going to be the same. You'll get similar notes to a degree, but each one's going to strike somebody a little differently. I think that's a wonderful thing at the end of the day is not having the same product over and over and over. With 80 proof?
It's impossible.
Well, I mean, you have the 80 proof. You have that, like, that's your consistent daily go-getter. Mm-hmm. Hey, with this one, we're going to tinker more. We're going to move the needle some. Try them all. We hope you like them all, but there will be variants. And as long as everyone's transparent about that, then that's the fun of, tasting whiskey. I mean, shit.
Exactly.
I love whiskey.
Depends on the day that
it's the best.
Mm-hmm. It depends on the day. And I think you're right. Both batches kind of bring back some sort of like memory of where we were at that moment.
Yeah, the most recent one, that one had a little more like a clove kind of allspice, a little bit more wood to it, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the previous one, it was a little more naive, younger, sweets, caramel, sugars. again, that's the fun, tasting them, and you know,
Right.
when you're the
You never know
blender,
what, literally, you never know what you're going to get.
yeah.
That's it. You never know. I think I'd love to get your guys' impression on what do you think we do as a company next? What do we do? What's our line extension? We're young, we're ambitious, we're eager.
Well, I'd
do you
ask
think
you
we do?
this. What do you think sets you apart at this point as a brand?
It's a great
I-
question with the question.
He's been doing that shit since the first minute.
He dropped a question.
Well,
Since the first minute.
So, I mean, you might answer this totally different.
You go.
I go? Okay. So I think it's our innocence towards the industry
I agree.
that sets us apart.
Totally agree.
And I think out of that innocence, a lot of moves have been made by us that have moved us forward, I think, faster than people thought we would
We've
move
got
forward.
a lot of people being like, "You're doing what?"
well, and it's like
Yeah.
when you're new to a job and you can kind of go in I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm actually really new here.
Yeah.
Where's the mailroom?
But at the same
We
time,
get a lot. We do get that a lot all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, "You're gonna do what?" I'm like, "Yeah, just fucking do it."
Well,
I mean,
part of it's like appearance over taste. We
take taste.
Taste.
I think it's to a degree, less is more to an extent. Don't overthink it. Don't overreach. And if you want to look at what you have now, it'd be very simply keep that 80 proof consistent. Keep pumping it where it's priced and for what it tastes. It's a great value as a daily drinker. You have your barrel proof expressions that are going to have some variance to them. Let those show some variance. It shows the mood, a day, a time, or whatever.
This is the hardest thing to blend. Right here.
To a degree, they're always going to be different, and that's what's good.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you have, your gold standard, so to speak, and then you have our once or twice or whatever a year barrel strength expression that, hey, we did this with this one, this with that one. Put a funny note on the back. I think that's enough in and of itself to start things rolling without just having, too many irons in the fire, because that's when shit just goes downhill.
You ever watch Bar Rescue? Remember that show?
show.
But,
Love
and he walks in and he looks at the menu and he goes, "You guys have way too many things. You're a bar. You
have 3 tuna melts on your menu."
Yeah, you need wings. You need a burger. You need nachos and pretzels.
Right.
You don't even have a hamburger on your menu.
If
When's
you were
the last time you sold the swordfish?
Have you sold the swordfish? When's the last time you sold it?
And if you're asking me, especially, you don't have a home. You don't have a home base right now. You don't have all this other stuff. My biggest advice is don't overextend yourself, because you could build the 80 and the cast strength. Don't be thinking about additional SKUs until you expand out the SKUs that you currently have. So you could get Penelope to be in more states. These are really good. You know that these are solid. You have these are good. Why introduce the other variable when the other variable right now should just be distribution in the states that you're going into, where, hey, I don't know how we're going to fare in Tennessee. I don't know how we're going to fare in Kentucky. I don't know how we're going to fare, in Pennsylvania. Those are questions to have first before you're like, hey, what finish am I going to put on this? Or how am I going to change this even more? It's like first steps. Adding some other stuff in there is like stuff that you're going to think about when you're getting your license. Where right now you're just trying to take your first steps and not fall down. Those first steps, they have to hold on to something.
And I didn't know this board meeting was being recorded.
No, that's fine.
But it's fun to innovate. We all love that train of thought.
That's the best part about it.
That's what gets our gears grinding. But at the same time, there's enough other people that are also doing things to where inevitably there's always a bit of a Me Too movement. Let other folks make some faulty mistakes. Like, how many people are doing this finish? How many people are doing that finish? Because if one person does it, somebody else will, somebody else will, somebody else will. Well, if one person did it well and the rest fall, well, those assholes just got lucky.
Yeah.
But if everybody does it good, then it's something to look into. I mean,
we're agile.
There's strength in numbers, and
that's a beautiful thing about.
That's why I would say to that degree is not overly investing or overly stretching without knowing the finished product. Because at the end of the day, when you're working with a set number of barrels and those need to yield a set number of a return, let's not go off in left field and see what happens. No, you stick to what you know, and that's what you know.
Yeah.
One of Fish's best songs is "Lovin' Cup," and that's a Rolling Stones song.
See, I was a big Hoist album fan because it had a lot of words on it.
But sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say I agree with you totally, and I still always want to tinker. I think we want to tinker, but be very careful about what we bring to market. Even we are. I mean, even barrel strength, we did a very tiny.
We toss so much.
We did a very tiny release,
R&D,
and we just we play with it in a small market, small market being friends and family.
You need to be thinking about what you're going to be doing 2-3 years from now.
No doubt, exactly.
That R&D is. I mean, whiskey is a long-term game.
This is a big play.
So if you find something that you like, if you find a finish that you like, or you like that, it's like, hey, that's going to be something that I know is going to have to age. It's going to have to sit there. It's not going to be something overnight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now we're getting we're in the mix. We're selling a lot of units, and we're like, holy shit, we have to think about this long term.
That's the tough thing about whiskey is you have to think about years down the line and how much, how many barrels am I going to have 5 years from now, and the brand's taken off. It's like, well, do I have to go buy more barrels and age them somewhere? Because I might know that this batch had 12, but I'm going to need 64.
I'm just trying to remember to say hi to my wife on the podcast. Hi, Carrie. I love you.
You did. You said that already.
I did. That's the second time.
Right. Hi, Candace.
Get it out.
Well, go. I want you guys to come back. Yes. I want to talk more about where Penelope goes and know that you guys, you have friends here. We have an open door policy. Whenever you're in town, come down, say hi. Even if we're not talking about Penelope, we'll hang out, have a pour. It's been a pleasure. I'd go certainly find these. What are the only states that you can get these in right now? Is it Jersey?
Jersey, Wisconsin, and New York.
Bada bing. We go.
New York's in February.
Oh.
That's in February. Wow. Sorry, guys.
And DC.
Yeah. But we just did New York, though. That was a big deal.
Mike, Danny, thank you so much for coming. I want to let people know before we get out of here, all of our glassware is provided by distilleryproducts.com. If you are a brand, if you are a bourbon group, wherever you are, distilleryproducts.com has great wholesale prices. So for you guys, the next step I would say innovation-wise, you probably need Glencairns with a big P on them for Penelope. So
I love these glasses.
I can get you in touch with distilleryproducts.com. Vicky over there would be happy to help you out, whether or not you want Glencairn, you want a neat glass, you want the Tua glass, which is the Irish whiskey tasting glass. They have decanters. They have all sorts of stuff. Check out distilleryproducts.com. That is the place for all of the distilleries I know go. That's actually how I found out about them, Zeke, because I was in a distillery and I said, hey, where do you get your Glencairns? They said distilleryproducts.com. So come to find out that that's the place that most of the distilleries use. I also want to let you know you can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find our podcast on wherever you download podcasts. We are on them all. Mike, Danny, where can people find Penelope Bourbon?
Well, we have at Penelope Bourbon, Instagram. Danny?
Online. You can look on our website and you can find out where to find it. A lot of retailers carry it online as well.
Is it PenelopeBourbon.com?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you guys again. It's been a pleasure having you. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
I'm just wondering which websites you search for these plaid shirts for online.
I get a lot of them.
I bet.
Cheers.
Danny
Ciao.
looked down at his shirt.
I was like, what am I
Danny
wearing?
really thought he was wearing a plaid tonight, and he was like, shit.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, thanks.